Hi,
Hello,
I'm Braxton,
I'm Zach.
and we are
From
Old to New.
Now today we're going to be doing a review, but we're also going to be doing a comparison video between a movie that came out in the 1980s and a remake that just came out last year.
And today we are talking about Dune.
Now, most people when they think of they see like the original, then they make a remake. They usually say that the
Original is normally better, but in this case, it's actually the opposite. The remake is way better.
Yes,
actually.
definitely way better. I feel like not only is it because of just the special effects compared to the 1980s compared to the late 2020 early 2020s, but it's more of just
storytelling,
acting. The characters themselves are just,
world building.
yeah.
So, if you've only seen the original Dune from 1984,
You're missing out. You gotta check this out, and or at the very least, read the book that it's based on. It's really good, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely give the new one a watch, but quick plot synopsis. So
it basically takes place in the year 10,191, where the universe is ruled by an emperor.
And you have like these 4 planets where you have
House Atreides, who ruled the planet Caladan, and House Harkonnen, who ruled from the planet Gedi Prime, but they also used to control a planet called Arrakis, or as is more colloquially known, Dune. Now, Arrakis is home to the most vital substance in the universe, spice. It's not just used for medical reasons, but it's also needed for interstellar space travel. So basically, whoever owns Arrakis is basically controls the entire economy of the universe.
Yeah, there's a very famous line from the original one that says, "He who controls the spice controls the universe," and that's very much the case in this story. It is House Atreides and House Harkonnen battling to gain control of the spice and therefore gaining control of the universe.
Now, it starts out the point House Atreides was given Arrakis by the Emperor, but it wasn't for good reason. It was because the Emperor saw that the Atreides' loyalty was growing and he feared a power vacuum might surge, so he gave Arrakis to the Atreides so that it would cause a war between them, wiping them out.
Yeah.
Ensuring he'd still gain. Now, the main hero of the Dune saga in these two movies is Paul Atreides, the son of the Duke, Leto Atreides, and he's basically he's basically at first he's a normal teenager having
he's having these dreams about Arrakis and premonitions, and he's trying to find who he is. Like, he's not sure he wants to be the next leader.
Yeah, he's worried that he may not be who he wants. That's not who he could be because he's not worthy enough.
Yeah.
Eventually, he finds out from his mother and one of her mentors that he comes from a breeding program designed by a religious group known as the Bene Gesserit, who hold political power in the universe in order to create one who could bridge space and time through the past and future.
Yeah, their whole mission is to breed this
Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah, Kwisatz Haderach, which is the super being.
Yes.
So this is like they're trying to make Neo or some other.
The Avatar.
Yeah, basically they're trying to. This Messiah type character is what they're trying to breed, and they think this movie's about Paul's journey to find out if he is indeed the Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah. Eventually, they make it to Dune, where they start trying to get things up and running, spice running again. But we're also introduced to a bunch of other characters. We meet Paul's mentors, Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, who plays a much bigger role in this movie than they did in that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I mean, Duncan Idaho, he does show up in there, but he's not a big part of Paul's life. He's just oh hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, and then
in here he's just a awesome warrior, best friend kind of guy.
Yeah, He's in the movie a whole lot more in the remake than he is in this.
Yeah, and also we're introduced to some of the other uh, we also get to know like some backstory regarding his like family, his father, his mother,
Yeah.
and eventually it reaches a point where the Emperor sends his troops along with Harkonnen groups to attack Arrakis and kill the Atreides, who were actually betrayed by one of their close advisors, Dr. Yue, who I have to say, in the original movie we saw like we immediately knew, oh, he's the traitor because they showed it,
Yeah.
but in this movie, through the storytelling and like the cinematography, it was almost like you didn't know what was coming.
You weren't expecting it, and it becomes more of like a real plot twist.
Yeah.
So if you had not read the books or seen the original movie, it came as a complete shock.
Yeah.
Whereas to the original one, you kind of could see it coming.
Going off of that, I noticed something when I started reading the book. I noticed that like they like revealed like the way that they went about like the inner monologues in their head in the original Dune matched the same kind of lines and writing that they did in the Dune book. So it's like this one was trying to be too much like Dune in the like what's the term like the writing,
Yeah.
like in the the line writing.
Yeah.
But in this one they focused more on visuals and visual storytelling.
Yeah. There's a few moments of like inner dialogue in the new one, but it's not like the original where like half the lines in the movie is inner dialogue.
Yeah. So eventually, like Paul and Jessica escape into the desert to hide out, but his father, uh, Leto, is killed, and eventually, being overcome by like the spice entering his system, he sees a premonition of a future where he leads an army against the Emperor and causing a holy war throughout the galaxy.
Yes. And you can see transition at least in the new one where Paul kind of is getting ready to start accepting his fate a little more
Yeah.
now that his father is gone.
Like he has a purpose now. He needs to avenge his family, and like I feel like with this movie, I felt like in the original Dune, it was like Paul just immediately accepted, okay, I'm the chosen one.
Yeah.
But in this one, this actually feels like a more realistic reaction. You find out, okay, there's no way I could be a chosen one. Like, why is this on my head?
Yeah.
I don't. And he also doesn't want people killing people in his name if that's his future. So he's like trying to fight against it.
Yeah.
Eventually, they reunite with Duncan Idaho, and they meet up with a scientist who helps them navigate through the desert to find the Fremen, the native people of Arrakis, so that they may use them to fight against the Harkonnens. Eventually, they do find them, but uh, uh, they aren't really trustworthy of outsiders.
Yeah. And it gets to where most of them, they're still kind of skeptical, and this is in the new one.
Yeah.
They're kind of skeptical, but they kind of still are kind of like, yeah, y'all can come with us. But there's like this one guy who's like, no, they have to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Send in the warrior, and we will fight in battle,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
And so Paul volunteers to do it, and he's given a weapon by Johnny, who he actually had been seeing multiple times in his premonitions, played by Zendaya. And I noticed that a lot of people were upset that Zendaya wasn't in this movie enough. But I have to say, basically, they put her in the exact same amount. They basically put her in at the same rate that they did in the book. Like, you're introduced to her the same way you're introduced to her through the book. Like, you meet her through the premonitions, then you meet her at the point where Paul meets her. That's basically what the audience went through.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. You're basically putting the audience in Paul's eyes.
And so,
Paul duels Jamis in like an ancient creed. He doesn't want to kill him, but eventually he chooses to because he feels that by doing so, he accepts his debt. By doing so, he will become who he's meant to be.
yeah, and you see how he struggles a little bit, and he's asking him if he yields and stuff like that, and everybody else is kind of asking his mother like, is he serious? Like, is this joke? Is this some kind of joke? And she says, well, he's never killed anybody ever, and so when he does, it's like a step over the bridge into like who he's about to become,
And
so to speak.
there was like a moment like beforehand, he had like a premonition where he's like, Paul Atreides must die so that the Haderach might rise. And earlier one of them had said, you take a life, you take your own as well. So symbolically, by killing Jamis, he does kill his former self and rises up as the chosen one.
And that is where the new one ends.
But this one continues on, which I feel like was one of its big flaws. You're trying to fit a whole book into just 2 hours. That you can't do that. You need to spread it out evenly.
Yeah. Which, this movie probably would not have made much money for a sequel anyways.
Yeah.
But, so, with the original, you've had this big battle, and, eventually he gets back to, like, his home or whatever, and he has to, fight with more Harkonnens, and he has to fight Fade Ralpha, who is supposed to be in the next one as like the main villain or one of the main villains.
And also we will also be getting two other characters in the next movie that were introduced in the original. The Emperor himself, played by Christopher Walken, and Princess Arulan, who will be played by the great actress Florence Pugh. I mean, she's great, right?
So Fade and Paul, they duel, and Paul eventually kills Fade, and
ascends as Emperor.
yeah, and pretty much like he's running off the rest of the bad guys, and that's where the original ends.
Yeah.
So
overall, I feel like I mean, I understand like what they were trying to do with the first one. They tried to take a classic science fiction book, turn it into a film, but they didn't understand. But due to a lot of studio interference, the director couldn't do the vision that he wanted, similar to Sam Raimi with his Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah. So the original one, I'd probably give it a 5.
Yeah. And for the new one, I gotta give it a 10. I could give it a 10 alone just for its visuals and cinematography.
Yeah, I give the new one a 10. So what do you give the original?
I give it about a 6.
6. Yeah. So 5.5 for the original and a 10 for the remake.
Yeah.
And that was our review for the Dune series. Stay tuned for more reviews, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.